Well, hey folks, my name is Brad, and maybe you can see behind me on my left a beautiful New England stone wall, and on my right, a flatwater river. The space between where I'm standing here is a very old road traveled in the 1700s, the 1800s, and the very early 1900s. And today I've brought my metal detector to see if maybe we can find a few things lost by the travelers over the years. Now, if this is one of my first videos that you've seen, I post one of these every Friday. So if you like what you see today, consider subscribing, or just come on back next week. I'm gonna get my metal detector out, see what we can find. Well, I just got what was a very uninteresting target on the metal detector. It was in the low 70s. Thought it was probably going to be a pull tab. I've been finding quite a few of those today. But what we have here, maybe you can see, first I kind of saw this stuff, which is most certainly leather. And then I found this and I thought, oh, it's a rivet. But as I flip it over, we can see it's actually a pair of coins fused together, stuck to some leather, which has me wondering if this was a money bag, a little leather pouch. Had a bunch of coins in it. Maybe just these two, maybe there's more down here. We're gonna have to wait and find out. But first, let's pull these apart. See if we can identify them. Well, this one has Abraham Lincoln on it. This one's harder to tell. Let's unstick them. Yeah, so that's a wheat cent, and that has another Lincoln on it. So 2 wheat pennies, which is pretty awesome when they're fused together like that, and we know that they were together in the same little vessel. It makes my mind race thinking about what else could be down in this hole. Maybe nothing, but I'm certainly going to check again. The dream is always finding a little bag or container that was somebody's life savings out here, right? Stashed under a stone wall or something. Haven't found one of those yet, but I'll take this. Well, I got a very quiet target on the metal detector. I dug and I dug and I dug, and it was incredibly deep. You can see the groundwater starting to fill the hole there. And it ended up being what I thought was a big old copper coin at first. It's a little bit too big for that though. This is the face of an old pocket watch. This is what would have slipped into the frames that I often find. Looks like it's missing quite a bit, but you can see that it had, it looks like 3 dials maybe, which is interesting. I would bet that after this gets cleaned up a bit, there's going to be some text on here. I think I see a little bit right there. There are certainly some numbers down there. Looks like 211 something, so unless it's from the future, I don't think it's the year. That's a cool find. I don't find this part very often. It's almost always the big round frames or the front or the back. It's pretty rare for me to find the actual inner workings of the pocket watch. The original owner was traveling along this road. Hopefully they weren't late. Well, I was hoping I would find one of these today. A bit expected given where we are in this old road. I'm excited because it seems to be that it's not broken. Seems to be a pretty good sized. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. A beautiful bronze. Actually, it's a little bit green. It's got a lot of copper in it. What we would call, oh yeah, look at that. Super green. We would call these Conestoga bells. Clapper's gone, unfortunately. They oftentimes are because they were iron and they dissolve away in the earth, but these copper and brass items last a very long time. And you can imagine this would have been on a wagon or, up here in the mountains of Vermont, a sleigh to alert oncoming sleighs and wagons that there was going to be some traffic. And a really quick, funny story about these narrow roads. Several years ago, my wife and I went to a living museum where folks dress up in the 1700s attire, live life like they did back then, and my wife and I rode on one of these horse-drawn sleighs up to their reservoir where they were cutting out ice blocks. We were going up, another sleigh was coming down one of these old roads. I don't think they had bells on them, maybe they did, but in any case, we didn't know that we were going to be meeting we did. There wasn't enough room for us to get around. Our sleigh actually tipped quite a bit. We all had to get off. The horses had to detach. It was a fiasco. Maybe if they heard us coming, that wouldn't have happened. But that's what they were trying to prevent back then with these bells. This is a beautiful one, and I'm sure it would have sounded beautiful back when it actually had its clapper. Well, maybe you can tell I'm in a new place. There's trees, looks like I'm in the forest. The river is right behind the camera here, but there's a little stream here that enters the river. Decided to just kind of walk up both sides of the stream and cool off a little bit. It's only 60 degrees today, but in the direct sun, it's quite warm. But anyway, I just found a beautiful little artifact. No idea how it could have gotten here along the side of the stream. But this is what looks like the base, solid brass base to candle holder. And you know, I don't know, we can use our imagination here. Maybe someone was traveling this old road, decided to stop in the evening for a picnic and to camp maybe. I don't know, this might be a good spot to stick around and see if there's more here. I lost the candlestick holder. Kind of a bizarre find, but I'm happy with it. Well, I'm still by this stream that's here behind me. Maybe you can hear it. Main river's down here. And been searching around, wondering if maybe this was a place folks spent the night, camped. I'm not sure what happened here, but maybe you can see I have thus far found 3. I think that these are all different pieces of lamp. Oil lamp, kerosene lamp. Somebody was certainly here when it was dark. That being said, what I just found here, I think is quite a bit newer, but I could be wrong. Maybe you can see a big pocket knife. And the reason I say I wonder if it might be newer is because this looks like a plastic, like an acrylic clear. But you can tell by the blade here, it is very rusted. Over 50, 60 years, I would have to guess. And in the late 1800s, which I would guess those lamp pieces are from, they did have Bakelite, which is kind of like plastic, but I don't think it was clear, to the best of my knowledge. So I'm going to have to guess that this is, like I said, 50, 60 years old. With the blade still intact, which means somebody lost this accidentally. Dropped out of their pocket, and they were going for another bullet, you know, deer hunting, or hard to say. Blade is in though, so they weren't using it. Cool find. Interesting spot. Let's see what else we can find here. All right, well, I had just given up on the spot up the stream. The stream's over here on my left. I'm working my way back down to the main river, which is behind this camera, and I got a pull tab right back there. It's got the same target here, and it is something very special, I think. Unfortunately, it was broken a little bit, but that's okay. So when this first came out, I didn't know what it was. It just looks like a little square of brass, right? But as I flip this over, this is a little brass book. And it looks like there was a design on the very front, maybe. But underneath, at first I thought that this was like a piece of glass in a shape of something, but I don't believe it is. I think that this is bubbled, oxidized iron. And the back looks like it opens as well. Could there be something in it? Coin, little gold coin maybe? I'm not sure if the hinge is moving or if it's just breaking, but on the inside, look, there is another one of these little iron frames. Yeah, this page just broke off. That's okay, we'll keep all this together and make sure it all ends up in the same spot. So I believe what we have here is a tiny little photo album locket. I can see there was a little attachment point right here. It was probably a necklace that hung that would have probably 2 photos inside. Unfortunately, they're long gone, right? The iron backing is all rusted and bubbled. But what an incredible find. I'm sure the person who owned this must have been devastated when they lost it. You know, if there was photos of loved ones, deceased loved ones, maybe the only photo that existed of that person, given how old this is, you can imagine the heartbreak of realizing it was gone. You know, we really take for granted these days, probably don't even know how many photos of you exist. 100 years ago, it was a very different story. What a find. Unfortunately, it's extremely broken, but I have all of the pieces, I believe, so that we can keep it all together. Find of the day. Imagine if the photos were still in there somehow. That would have been something. Well, I just got a very nice target, a high tone on the metal detector, but it was a very large target, so I didn't get the cameras out ahead of time. Didn't think it was going to be a coin. It's not a coin, and I have no idea what it is, but I'm excited about it. At first, I thought it was, a Rains guide for a wagon. But the more I look at this thing, man, is this decorative. It doesn't appear to be broken at all, and it feels like it's made out of lead. Yeah, it's definitely lead. It's soft. I could bend it. Let me go give this a quick dunk in the water, get all of the sand off of it, and we'll take a look at it. This thing is wild. Be right back. All right, it is incredible. Certainly old. Hopefully you can make out all the details on there. There does seem to be some red down here in the recesses. I'm not sure if that was enamel or paint, but it's extremely heavy. It's almost certainly solid lead. Very decorative. I was looking on the inside rim here if it looked like maybe it accepted a lens, like an old magnifying glass or maybe even a mirror. But it doesn't seem like there is. It's very smooth. No idea, but I feel like it's something important. Hopefully I figure out what this is by the time I publish the video, but if not, suggestions welcome. Beautiful, ornate piece of lead with a window. One of the most interesting things I've found in a while. All right, well, I just had a mini heart attack because I thought that I just found this thing that I've been searching for since the very beginning, yet to find one of them. It isn't what I thought I had here. This very much resembles a teeny tiny little version of a fire starter or a strike-a-light. There are these iron tools that you'd hang on to and use, and back in the 1800s, they didn't have lighters, so they would literally have this piece of steel and flint to make fire. And I've been so fascinated with those. Unfortunately, this resembles it, but it's not what it is. But it's still pretty interesting. I believe that this is a wing nut, but you can tell that it's pretty clearly hand forged. This would have been hammered out, hole drilled, and then tapped to be a nut for a very old bolt, which is pretty wild. It's not uncommon to find nuts and bolts out here metal detecting. The older ones are typically the big square nuts, but I have never seen anything quite like that. A hand-forged iron wing nut. That's actually a really cool piece. Not a strike-a-light, but cool nonetheless. managed to find some shade here in the bend of the river. So at the beginning of the video, I mentioned, you know, it's an old road, 1700s. There's no telling what we might find here, and I was hoping we'd find a few things from the 1700s at least. And thus far, all day, early 1900s, late 1800s, until now. And I'm quite excited about what it is. Maybe you can see down here in the hole. We have just a fragment, unfortunately, of a shoe buckle. It's one of these beautiful designs, almost like lace work. These holes in it all along. I'm gonna go dip it in the river, clean it off as best I can. We'll take a look at it. Look at that. Beautiful. So you can see on the back that it's green. So it's brass. But it almost has like a white tinge to it on the front, which makes me believe it was probably silver plated on the front here, on the top I should say. That is an awesome find. Quintessential 1700s. Folks were wearing buckles on their shoes and on their hats. These were often broken off the shoes when folks were riding on horses, putting their boots in stirrups. It's very likely the rest of this is around here somewhere. Again, this isn't a home, this is a road, so if this broke off, likely more of it's here. All right, folks, well, I am calling it quits for the day. And you know, I don't think I mentioned it in the video, but it's actually the first week of November, and I'm out here without sleeves on my arms. Unbelievable day. Just being outside in the sun was a treasure, but we found quite a few cool things today as well. I've got them all laid out here on a rock. Let's take a look. All right, so here is the haul for the day. Not bad considering we were just walking an old road all day. In the way back, all of the lantern pieces that I found back in the woods up that small stream. We have the big candle holder and I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 different lanterns. The pocket knife, a bunch of pieces of lead over here. I thought this was kind of interesting. Somebody twirled up this piece into a spiral. I did find one teeny tiny button today. It's pretty interesting. 1800s, I would guess. We have the Knot Strike-A-Light wing nut, Conestoga wagon bell. I actually found 2 more pieces of that shoe buckle. Unfortunately, I am still missing a little corner piece. Maybe we'll have to come back and spend some time looking for it. I did find 2 modern quarters, but these are 2 wheat cents that were stuck together, likely dropped in a little money wallet or a little coin bag, coin purse. That was a cool find. They're fused together. This, no idea. Maybe one of you folks out there have an idea what in the world that thing could be. And then last but not least, my favorite find of the day, the little photo album pendant. Fortunately, the photos are gone, obviously, considering it was underwater for part of its life, and the iron is all rusted. But man, can you imagine the story that has to tell? All right, well, I want to thank you for watching. And you know, it feels weird saying it because it was such a beautiful, warm day today, but I fear snow is not too far off for us here in the mountains of Vermont. Hopefully, I will see you here next Friday finding some treasure.